I mean, you should be able to. Yeah, especially if you have the card. Do you have an ID that shows you're Illinois? Oh yeah, definitely. I don't see why not. Yeah, usually they go based off like your ID, as long as you can prove residency and all that good stuff. Yeah, yeah, no problem. All right, so let's get this thing going. All right, so we're streaming live on Facebook, and then we're also gonna be streaming live on Instagram. All right, so yeah, let me just go ahead and get started with the recording, or I'm sorry, the presentation. And definitely thank you guys for joining. So we're streaming live today on Zoom. We're also live on Facebook, and we're live on Instagram. And the title of today's topic is really called Infinite Expansion: How to Infinitely Expand Your Vision of Abundance. So welcome everyone. We do appreciate you joining this webinar. Typically we do this event every Wednesday night or so. Today we're switching it up just a little bit just to add some more spice to it. We still do the presentation for about 20 minutes or so, and then we do at the end for Q&A. But today, since a lot of people seem to be down due to this COVID-19 pandemic, what can you do? How do you create abundance? What in the world can you do in life to create an abundant lifestyle, even through something such as COVID-19? So everything we'll be talking about today will be centered around COVID-19. Just talking about infinite expansion, how to infinitely expand your vision of abundance, give you guys some insight. The book is coming out pretty soon. So this presentation you're seeing here today is actually a book that I wrote, essentially, which will be published pretty soon. But the main focus of the presentation is how in the world do you create abundance even when things are down? When the sky is falling, when people are getting sick, when people are getting laid off left and right, the unemployment numbers are coming out tomorrow. How do you stay afloat? How do you stay not just afloat, but how do you stay abundant? That's the thing. How do you live in abundance even during the bad times? Like, can you imagine you're living in abundance during the good times and even in the bad times? And abundance is to have plentiful of something to the point where you don't even need it anymore. It could be money. It can be freedom. So that's why this presentation doesn't really talk about money per se. This more so talks about abundance. Abundance in anything that you do. Today I'll give an intro of who I am, my purpose in life, the compassionate statement that I always share anytime I share my purpose, just to give you a snippet. And I'll tie it back. Everything that I talk about today will be tied back to the pandemic. And also, we have a recession that's coming up starting next month. Hopefully you guys are prepared for that. So just getting you mentally prepared for something such a recession. We'll talk about the 12 steps to creating an abundant lifestyle, even in a pandemic such as COVID-19. And then I'll give you guys a challenge. One of the challenges out there that you guys can take in order to create this abundant lifestyle that we all truly desire. And quite frankly, we all truly deserve. And at the end, we will leave it up for Q&A. So if you're on Facebook, Instagram, please feel free to start posting your questions. If you're on Zoom, you can feel free to post your questions as well. We will, in the future, expand this event to a master audience. So for now, we like to keep it to a pretty intimate group. But in the future, we will be expanding the RSVPs and all that good stuff to a much grander audience. So who am I? Just to give you guys a brief introduction, my name is Jeff Badu. I'm a licensed certified public accountant. I graduated from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign with a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. I'm a parallel entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier, and the founder and CEO of Badu Enterprises, LLC, which is a multinational conglomerate in the finance industry. We provide a suite of financial services, including our marquee company, which is Badu Tax Services, that does tax preparation, planning, and representation for individuals and businesses across all 50 states in the U.S., as well as about 10 different countries. So let me go into my purpose. My purpose in life is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle. And I'll repeat it one more time. My purpose in life is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle. How did I come about this purpose? Well, let me just share a story. I came to the United States when I was 8 years old. It was literally 2001, a month before 9/11. I came here on August 14th of 2001. Ironically, that was my 8th birthday. And it was 9/11, the fall crazy time, where planes are crashing into a building in New York. And then, of course, we had an economic downturn. We had a recession at that time as well. So I came to America during a very, very rough time, and of course, as a kid, you don't really see a lot of what's going on. All you really see is, okay, I'm in America. I see people are walking up and down the street. So-and-so is going to this job. So I got to see things in a very... I got a raw view of things, but a lot of things didn't really make sense. A recession, I didn't know what that was. So ultimately, I did come to America during a pretty rough time. The reason why I share that is because 19 years later, guess what? We're in a recession. We're about to be in a recession, actually. We're in a global pandemic. We're in a time where everybody needs to keep their spirit up. So my goal today is to teach you how to create abundance even during a bad time like this. But just to continue the story, when I came to America, I struggled a lot getting used to American life. I basically was in an uptown neighborhood, uptown area. It's a very, very rough time over there. Long story short, surrounded myself with the wrong people. And, overall, just wasn't on the best path possible. I would say it definitely made me who I am today. I learned a lot of lessons from the experience. But fast forward to when I was 16 years old was when I discovered my purpose, which is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle. I came about this purpose because I saw people struggling. I went back to Ghana for a few months, and it was a family trip. We just thought it was just going to be a nice trip, getaway. Next thing you know, I see the purpose. I saw people struggling. I saw a lady with 2 kids on her back, 2 babies on her back, and carrying a basket full of oranges, apples, anything she could sell to make ends meet. And I said, you know what? I'm meant to help these people, whether in the good times or the bad times. I've been given a gift to go to America, to go to the United States of America, home of the free, land of the brave, home of the opportunities. And for me to mess it all up wasn't what I was meant to do. So I took it upon myself to turn life around at the age of 16 and ultimately started going to church. Started surrounding myself with like-minded people, mentors, things of that nature. My spiritual life became pretty good. I got my spiritual life down at the age of 16. I actually read half of the Bible at the age of 16. So one thing that people notice about me is I'm a very spiritual person. I can tap into the spirit at any time. I'm not a pastor or anything like that, but I can tap into the spirit. For those who are spiritual, pretty much know what that actually means. But I can tap into the spirit, and that's what actually leads me to do everything that I'm meant to do today. But let's talk about the 12 steps to creating an abundant lifestyle, even through a global pandemic, a recession that's coming up next month, which you guys should be prepared for. By the way, tomorrow we're having an event that will be streaming live on Facebook at noon Central Time. Just basically giving you guys some more insight as to what to expect over the next few months, over the next few years. One of the worst recessions that we will ever see is coming next month. It's pretty much already started, but officially we can't title it a recession yet, because a recession by definition is 2 straight quarters of decline in GDP, which Q1 showed decline in GDP, and Q2 for sure, from what I've saw, will show decline in GDP, which will put us in an official recession. It will take us a while to recover from it. You know, last week about 4.4 million people filed for unemployment. So it's scary. But my job is not to fear you guys. My job today is to inspire you to create an abundant lifestyle, even through a global pandemic. So let's talk about the steps to creating an abundant lifestyle. So step 1 is you need to become aware that infinite resources do in fact exist. Right now, you're listening to a live Facebook webinar. You're listening to a live Instagram, a live Zoom webinar. This is the resource that you all need in order to basically create the abundance. And this could be YouTube videos. Nowadays, there's a lot of pop-up YouTube videos about preparing for a recession, things of that nature. You guys really need to pay attention to those videos, because those videos are true. And that infinite resources do in fact exist, even in a global pandemic. There's so much out there. Of course, there's news out there about safety and health, which I challenge you guys to take those things serious. Wash your hands, wear masks, gloves, and all that. You need to be doing those things. But at the same time, we need to really watch out for our financial resources and abundance creating resources as well. Meaning that if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a real estate investor, whatever it is, you need to become aware that infinite resources do in fact exist. So that is one thing that we all need to become aware, and that YouTube is available to us right now. Google does not discriminate. I always tell people anybody can go out and do Google research. My website, jeffbadu.com, is out there right now. So become aware that infinite resources do in fact exist for you, ultimately. So when I actually got started, I started my tax firm in 2016, and to take it a step back, in 2010 was when I started doing research about taxes. I was on YouTube. I was building a business plan. Anything that I could find online, I started doing research and writing it down, which we'll talk about in a second. But infinite resources, you have to become aware that infinite resources do in fact exist. And so we need to embrace that. We need to embrace the technology. We need to embrace the platforms and the information that's out there. Sometimes there are a lot of articles that have a lot of fluff and all that. You don't know who to trust. But nowadays the search engines are pretty well optimized to give you some pretty good stuff, usually in the top 3 articles or videos that pop up. Step 2 is we need to get rid of all excuses. Enter a no excuse zone. Now is not the time to make excuses about time. We all have time. We all were gifted with 24 hours in a day. No one on this planet was cursed with 23 hours, and no one was overblessed with 25 hours. You and I have 24 hours in a day. It is up to you and us, to make the most out of that 24 hours. So we can't make excuses right now. This is not the time to make an excuse that, I can't, for some reason, I don't have the time to do research on my own money. I don't have the time to do research on how to start the medical practice. Well, the average person watches 3 hours of television a day. So the average person got time. Definitely got time. That's about 21 hours of time that you can dedicate to something. And I'm not saying don't watch TV. What I'm saying is, instead of doing the 3 hours, maybe let's just do 2 hours to TV and 1 hour towards something productive. All right, especially now that we're all home, or a lot of us are home, work from home. A lot of us are basically don't have to go outside anymore. So we're basically trapped indoors, and what this is forcing us to do is to really take it upon ourselves to do research and to really advance in something that we really want to do. It could be buying another property. It could be investing in retirement, learning more about stocks, whatever it is. But if you want to create abundance in your life, even during a global pandemic, you can't make excuses anymore, right? Or excuses about money. A lot of these things that I'll be saying today don't require any money, so that should be an excuse. So time and money are the two biggest excuses known to man. Right now is not the time to make excuse about time. A lot of us have plenty of time. Unfortunately, some of us have been laid off. Some of us have been furloughed. Some of us have been going through something that has reduced the amount of time that's required to be spent at work, or whatever else we were doing. Maybe we were out partying every Friday night, so now we can use that time to dedicate to research or something else that's productive. So we can't make excuses. If you want to be great, if you want to create abundance in your life, excuses are not a thing. I'll share a story with you guys. There was a homeless man that was, he was given a flyer to attend a real estate workshop. And this was actually during 2008, ironically. But he was given a flyer, and the average man or woman would have said, yeah, this is a scam. I mean, why is this for me? I'm a homeless man. I don't, what is real estate? I don't know anything about it. So the average person would have thrown that flyer in the garbage. But this man took it upon himself to, first of all, not make the excuse about time that he didn't have time. He said, I have time to dedicate to go attend this workshop. He also didn't make the excuse about money, about transportation, or whatever it took to get to the seminar. He said, you know what? Whatever money I've been able to come up with, I'm going to attend that seminar. So he actually attended the seminar, and guess what? The man that invited him saw him, and he was shocked. He came up to him before the seminar started, and he said, I want to help you. And so the man took him under his shoulder and basically taught him a lot of things he needed to know about real estate. Fast forward to today, he owns over $1 million worth of real estate, over 50 units under his possession. He went from homeless to home full. And that's actually what the Badu Foundation is about to do. It's to turn the homeless into home full, and that we're supplying resources to the homeless community or people experiencing homelessness, teaching them how to buy properties, things of that nature, investments, savings, and actually giving people physical cash, dollars, to go out and buy the first, second, or third property, whatever property they're on, in order to restore their lives. So that's a big part of the foundation. That segment of the foundation will be launched next year due to the global pandemic we're going through. Because with the homeless, we typically like to work with them face-to-face in person. So we'll be starting with our youth group now, and then we'll move on to the homeless group next year. But step 3, know that infinite resources are in fact available to you. So Google does not discriminate based off color, race, anything like that. YouTube does not discriminate based off color, race, anything like that. Everybody has access to go to YouTube. Everybody that's listening today, you can go on YouTube right now. Everybody has access to go on Google. So this whole thing about, I'm a certain skin color, skin tone, so I don't have access to this resource, it's an absolute myth. Maybe you didn't know about the resource. That's fair. That's fair to say, and embrace that, honor that. And now you know. I always tell a man is that if you don't know what you don't know until you know. Once you know and you don't act, shame on you. So understand that resources are in fact available. And one good example is this whole PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, that came out and is available for all small business owners. Not just some, not just a few, not just big, small, quote-unquote business owners, or not just small business owners that are in predominantly white neighborhoods. We're talking about all. But then, of course, some people came out and said, I didn't get the PPP because my business is predominantly African-American, right? But then I asked the question, were your tax returns filed on time? And the person said no. Well, automatically that disqualifies you from the PPP. So we need to get out of this habit of feeling like we're essentially down because of our skin color, because of our economic status. I mean, there are certain resources available to certain people because they have more financial resources to get those extra resources. However, general resources, YouTube, Google, my website, all of these things, this webinar that you're watching today, all of these things are available to everybody. We don't discriminate. Anybody right now can watch this that we're talking here. So understand that infinite resources are available to you, and you need to take advantage, especially during a time like this. This is not the time to be holding back on information and saying, I don't have the time to learn. Oh, this is the time to learn, because a month from now we'll be in a recession, and you would have wished you learned at that time. I can guarantee you that. Step 4 is you need to create a vision, what you truly want. Not what your parents want, not what your kids want, not what your spouse wants, what you truly want. Oftentimes it's so sickening sometimes that we're always looking to please somebody. We're looking to please the next person. We're always looking to please people, but we never thought about, well, what about pleasing ourselves? What about actually doing something that we want for once? Right? So we have to create the vision, what you truly want. And what I do here in this exercise, I close my eyes for 5 minutes or so, right? And think about 3 to 4 things that I want in my life. What are the 3 to 4 things that I want? Is it a nice car, a nice house, a medical practice, a doctor practice, going back to school, getting a higher degree, getting that new position, whatever it is, right? For me, in 2020, I had 5 things on my vision board. I created a vision board with 5 things, and thankfully 4 of those 5 have been achieved already. Just waiting on the 5th one. So create the vision, what you truly want, and make sure you write it down on paper. It's very important to write it down. Step 5 is to identify the resources that you need. So this includes going on YouTube and specifically saying, I need to watch these 3 videos, or I need to watch videos on how to open a medical practice, or I need to watch these 2, or I need to read these 2 articles that can help me expand my business, or that can help me get into a greater position, get me back in college, apply for these 5 scholarships that I found out about because I went to this website. So this is where you take out a pencil and paper, or pen and paper, notepad, note tab, whatever you use. And that's the nice thing about today's society. You can use whatever. I challenge you to embrace the technology and utilize it, but at the same time, you don't necessarily have to be, nowadays, to be honest, you do have to be on the tech savvy side, because everything is virtual. Everything is digital nowadays, especially during this global pandemic today. So you identify 3 to 5 resources that you need for each of the vision items you've set. You write them down, and then you move to step 6, where you dedicate time, right? The time that we all don't have. We dedicate time, part of the 24 hours we're all gifted in life, to absorb the appropriate content, whatever it takes. So when I say whatever it takes, I mean, if it's an audiobook, then that's fine. For me, I'm a big audiobook guy. And that, if you'll notice, you probably won't see me because I'm usually indoor about 95% of the time in my home office here. But basically, I'm always listening. I always have my earbuds in, listening to an audiobook, reading about real estate books, about development books, about growth, leadership, all of that good stuff. So I'm typically always absorbing content mentally or listening. And really quickly, we will go over the times for those on the Zoom. So if you have to get off, I definitely understand that. We got about 6 more steps to go, and we'll be ending in about 5 minutes or so. But it doesn't matter what it is. It could be reading a book. For me, I'm a terrible reader. I'll tell you that right now. And that I can't focus. I can't concentrate when I'm reading something, so I have to listen to it. So I know my strength. My strength is listening. Reading is not my strength. So for me, I listen to the content, and I always do what? Take notes. Step 7. I prioritize taking detailed notes, meaning that what are the 3 to 5 things that I've listened? or that I've heard? What are the 2 key things that I learned when I watched this video? What are the top 5 things that I learned when I read that article or when I listened to that audiobook? So for me, my notes app is always out. I'm always taking notes. I'm jotting down details. I'm like, ooh, let me pause this. Nowadays, you can pause, you can rewind, and you can absorb the content, right? And you need to dedicate time. You need to dedicate time. It's time is something that we all need to make sure we're dedicating if we truly want to get ahead. This is not the time for you to be distracted. This is the time for you to be focused. Step 8, expand your vision through digging as deep as you possibly can. Meaning that maybe you wanted to own 1 medical practice, but how about we do 3? How about we do 4? How about we do 6? Just keep thinking. How can you expand? Remember, this is infinite expansion. We're infinitely expanding our vision of abundance by thinking as deep as we possibly can. So expand your vision. Close your eyes for about 10 minutes and then expand the thoughts. Expand. What are the 3 more things that I need or want in life and desire? Remember, it's what you want, not what your parents, your kids, your spouse, your teacher, whoever it is. These are the things that you want. So keep thinking about the things that you truly want in life. This is a very spiritual exercise. Just keep thinking deep, keep thinking deep, keep thinking deep. There's always a deep thought. Think as much as you possibly can, which is step 9. Sit and really, really think deeply. Is this enough? Can I go further? Can I take it to the next level? Can I do 10 medical practices in 5 years? Can I open 5 tax firms? Can I own 6 properties instead of 1 that I thought I would own? So this is where you start tapping into your mind and say, can I go further? Can I go deeper? Can I take it to the next level? Infinite expansion. Even during a global pandemic. Remember, this is not the time to contract. This is not the time to say, oh, let me just take a step back. This is the time where you should be, your mind should be racing. You should be like, hey, right, we're in a pandemic, but I need to excel in life. I can't slow down. Whatever I set for 2020, I need to keep pushing. I can't let the silly virus thing slow me down. I got to keep pushing. Of course, doing it smart, intelligently, feasibly, making sure you're wearing a mask if you're doing it in person or in the public or anything like that. Doing Zoom calls instead of in-person meetings if you can, which we're doing a lot. So just find a way. Sometimes you have to adapt to your environment. But step 10 is setting a vision board. This is where you formally have to write this down. Meaning that you set the vision board where you put it, you basically activate or you make alive the vision that you set on in your mind and you put it on paper. So this is where you formalize the vision board. You cut out maybe 5 pictures in a magazine or online, wherever it is, and you post them on your vision board. So 2020 vision board, 2025 vision board, 2030 vision board. Step 11, none of this means anything if you're not taking action towards the attainment of your vision. Meaning, if you said you would read those 3 articles, go ahead and read those 3 articles and take notes and write down what you learned. And whatever the article said, act upon. Maybe you need to go out and start viewing properties, then go out and start viewing properties. Maybe you need to start calling people to schedule some showings. So that is exactly what you need to do in this step. This is the step where you take action. You take action. The success, people who are successful take action. Massive levels of action. Not just small action, but action. Like, hey, I wrote down these 3 to 5 things that I need to do. I blocked off time in my calendar, and this is the part where I'm actually going to do it. Step 12, always monitor your present reality to infinitely expand your vision of abundance. Maybe you own 1 medical practice now. Well, now you can do 5. Now you can do 3. Maybe that now that we're in a pandemic, your business needs to go virtual. Well, monitor that reality in order to infinitely expand. How do you turn that virtual business now into one of the top businesses on the planet? I just had a call with a client today. She's a therapist, and she said all her therapy sessions are virtual now. And her business has doubled ever since she went virtual. I'm like, well, what in the world were you doing in the first place? Why weren't you virtual? So she was like, yeah, our business model is going to go even crazier now. We're saving on rent. So she's using her present reality. She's monitoring her present reality to infinitely expand the vision of abundance. He's like, you know what? You're right. I mean, we can take this thing to the masses. She's about to make her first $1 million this year in her business, which I'm very proud of her. I'm the CFO of her company, doing an outsourced CFO service. And so now she's been able to expand to a very, very massive level. I mean, she's probably going to do about $2 million this year. And last year she did about 900,000. So always monitor that present reality to infinitely expand your vision of abundance. With that being said, my challenge to you guys is to take these steps, and then go out and create an abundant lifestyle. I know it's a lot that I just shared today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is jb@badutaxservices.com. Once again, jb@badutaxservices.com, or you can email me at jeffbadu@gmail.com. Check out my personal website, jeffbadu.com, where I have tons of resources available. Of course, you guys can find me on social media. You can reach out to me as well through phone, 773-679-7198. Once again, 773-679-7198. With that being said, sorry for going over the time, but I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or anything you guys may have at this time. I will be starting with the questions that I received first. I did get a question on Facebook. Corey said, what are your top 5 books? Number 1 is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, written by Robert Kiyosaki. Once again, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, written by Robert Kiyosaki. It's the book that truly elevated me to the next level. It made me go from 1 business to 12 businesses within a 3-year time span. It made me go from wanting 1,000 clients to now doing about 10,000 clients in 2021. It truly expands your mind. It makes you want to do more, let's just say. And then the part 2 of the book is called Cash Flow Quadrant. Once again, Cash Flow Quadrant, written by Robert Kiyosaki. And remember, anything that I say that's important, or anything that your professor even told you in college or in high school, anything that's important, please make sure you're writing down so that you can refer back to the notes. Number 1 is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Number 2 is Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Number 3 is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. So that book is a really good book just to really learn how to truly be around people. Number 4 is The Power of Broke by Damon John. Very powerful book that just takes your mind from scarcity mode to expansion mode. Or from somebody who thinks that they can't do something, it just lets you know that anything is possible. Damon John has a great story. And then last but not least, Money Master the Game by one of my mentors, Tony Robbins. Money Master the Game is a book that will truly enhance your knowledge about money, essentially. And then if I had a top 10, since I only have a top 5, if I had a top 10, 10X Rule would definitely be a part of it. Grant Cardone, who's one of my real estate mentors. He's a great guy to follow, great guy. If you don't know who Grant Cardone is, go on Google right now and research his name, and you'll find out who he is. But any other questions, we'll do about 2 more minutes for Q&A. I know I'm over the time. But any questions, you can ask your question by type. If you're on Facebook, Instagram, or Zoom, you can type it in the chat box. If you're on Zoom, you can also just unmute yourself and speak your question. So we'll do 1 minute of questions, comments as well. Any comments, anything. This is a time where you guys really need to pay attention. This is a time where we have to take advantage of these resources, and we have to think expansion as opposed to contraction. If you are looking to contract during this time, you might get burnt, right? It's very, very sad, some of the things that will be happening over the next few months. Very, very sad. People will lose their jobs. Some people will be forced to be homeless, right? If it wasn't for stimulus checks and all these government programs that are here to support, we would be in big time trouble in the world today. Big time trouble. but thankfully we're at least getting bailed out, somewhat. But the worst, like, we haven't seen the worst of it, but I do challenge you guys to take this time to really take it to the next level. We have a question. Do you encourage S-Corps for single employee businesses? S-Corps are only recommended if you have a business profit, meaning income minus expenses, of greater than $30,000. So if your income exceeds your expenses, remember, you always have to keep track of your numbers, because as I stated on a webinar last week, if you can't track the money, you don't have a business. What you have is called a hobby. So income minus expenses, if that equals $30,000 or more in a given year, then you should be considering S-Corp election. If you need help with that, I can help you. Please don't try this at home, because I've seen a lot of mistakes when it comes to that form. Lots and lots of mistakes. A client thinking they're an S-Corp, next thing you know, they didn't file the paperwork, they didn't sign on the right pages. I mean, you'll hear crazy stories out there. Fourth book is The Power of Broke by Damon John. Very powerful book. If you guys haven't read it, it's an extremely powerful book. But yeah, we'll do one more, last call for questions. We'll do one more question and then we'll end it at that. All right, doesn't sound like we have any more questions. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys need anything, please let me know. I'm always here to help. That is part of my duties, especially during a time like this. So I go ahead and end the Facebook Live.